If you want to memorize 10 times faster, this video will show you exactly how. You've spent hours rereading your notes, only to forget everything the next day. You cram before exams, and the information just vanishes. It feels like memorization requires endless, painful repetition. Here's the truth. You remember information in two completely different ways, as words using your verbal memory, or as pictures using your visual memory. They're totally different mental processes, and they get dramatically different results. People never believe how extreme the difference actually is, so here's a challenge for you. You can prove it to yourself right now in this video. First, let's test your verbal memory. I'll give you a list of 10 words. Let's see how many you can remember. Here we go. Laptop, tiger, bicycle, candle, guitar, mirror, orange, rabbit, compass, telescope. Pause the video right now and write down every word you can recall. Take your time. Really try to remember as many as you can. How did you do? If you're like the average person, you remembered about 5 to 7 words, probably not in the right order. Some of you might have gotten 8. A few might have only gotten 3 or 4. That's completely normal. That's your verbal memory working exactly the way it's supposed to work. It's not that you have a bad memory. This is just how verbal memory functions for everyone. Now let's test your visual memory and watch what happens. I'll give you another list of words, but this time I'll also tell you a short story and show you pictures. To activate your visual memory, just create a mental picture of everything I describe. Make the images as vivid as possible in your mind. You can even close your eyes and listen. Let the story play like a movie in your imagination. Here we go. Motorcycle. Imagine you're riding a red motorcycle down an empty highway. The engine roars beneath you, and the wind rushes past your helmet. You're going incredibly fast. Gorilla. Suddenly, with a massive thud, an enormous gorilla lands on the back of your motorcycle. It's twice the size of a normal gorilla, covered in jet black fur. It wraps its huge arms around your waist. Pumpkin. The gorilla reaches down and pulls out a giant pumpkin from nowhere. It holds the pumpkin above its head and then smashes it down onto the road. The pumpkin explodes into 1,000 pieces. Albert Einstein. Chunks of pumpkin fly everywhere, and one massive piece hits Albert Einstein, who's standing by the side of the road. Einstein is covered head to toe in orange pumpkin guts. His wild white hair is dripping with pumpkin seeds. Flamingo. Einstein looks annoyed. He reaches out and grabs a bright pink flamingo that's walking past. He uses the flamingo like a towel, wiping the pumpkin off his face and clothes. The flamingo squawks loudly as Einstein rubs it all over himself. Lighthouse. Einstein gets frustrated and throws the flamingo high into the air. The flamingo flaps its wings and lands perfectly on top of a tall red and white striped lighthouse. The lighthouse starts to wobble. It sways back and forth, and then, with a creaking groan, the entire lighthouse tips over and crashes down. Wedding cake. The lighthouse falls directly on an absolutely massive 5-tier wedding cake. The cake is chocolate and white with elegant decorations. When the lighthouse hits it, the entire cake explodes. Frosting shoots everywhere. Roses and cake pieces rain down from the sky like confetti. Chunks of cake splatter across the ground. Toy soldier. A huge glob of white frosting lands right on the head of a giant wooden toy soldier. The toy soldier is painted brown, standing stiff at attention. The frosting hitting his head causes a bizarre chemical reaction. Suddenly, the toy soldier starts to glow. Then, with a whoosh, the toy soldier blasts off into the sky like a rocket ship, trails blailing behind him as he shoots upward. Hamburger. The toy soldier rockets higher and higher into the clouds. Just as he starts to fall back down, an absolutely enormous hamburger appears above him. The hamburger is the size of a car. It opens up like a parachute. Long strings of melted cheese connect the hamburger to the toy soldier. The hamburger floats gently, lowering the toy soldier safely toward the ground. Penguin. The hamburger and toy soldier finally land on a snowy field. A penguin waddles over to investigate. The penguin is curious. It walks right up to the hamburger and starts pecking at the cheese. It eats bite after bite, stuffing its face with hamburger and cheese. Surfboard. After eating way too much, the penguin's belly is huge and round. The penguin feels sick. It waddles over to a bright yellow surfboard that's leaning against a snowbank. The penguin hops onto the surfboard and starts sliding down a snowy hill, picking up speed as it goes. Cigar. The surfboard is going so fast that it starts to overheat. Smoke begins to pour out from underneath it. The surfboard suddenly pulls out a fat brown cigar and lights it. The cigar catches fire immediately. Flames shoot out from the end. The panicked surfboard flings the burning cigar away as hard as it can. Eiffel Tower. The flaming cigar spins through the air in slow motion. It flies across the entire city and lands at the very top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The cigar sets the top of the Eiffel Tower on fire. Flames dance at the peak of the famous landmark. Milkshake. Someone at the base of the Eiffel Tower sees the fire. They grab an absolutely gigantic strawberry milkshake. The milkshake is pink and creamy, topped with whipped cream and a cherry. They toss the entire milkshake up to the top of the tower. The Eiffel Tower grabs it and pours the cold milkshake all over the flames. The fire goes out with a loud hiss. Steam rises into the air. Balloons. As the steam clears, hundreds of colorful balloons suddenly burst out from the top of the Eiffel Tower. Red balloons, blue balloons, yellow balloons, green balloons, they all float up into the sky. The balloons spell out the words "the end" as they drift higher and higher into the clouds. Okay, pause the video again and write down how many words you can recall using your visual memory. The trick is to recreate a picture in your mind of each image in the story. Go through the story from the beginning. What was the first thing you were riding? What landed on the back? What did it smash? Who got hit? What did that person use to wipe themselves off? Just follow the story and the words will come back to you. Did you see the difference? Here's something sneaky I did. I actually gave you 15 words in that second list, not 10. But the average person can recall anywhere from 10 up to all 15 words, and mostly in the right order. Compare that to the 5 to 7 words from your verbal memory test. The difference is absolutely massive. Some of you might have even remembered all 15 words from the visual memory test, while only getting 5 or 6 from the verbal test. That's not luck. That's not because you tried harder the second time. That's the raw power of visual memory. Visual memory techniques have been around for thousands of years. Ancient Greek and Roman orators used these exact methods to memorize hours-long speeches without any notes. But for some strange reason, most people only know verbal memory techniques. In school, you were probably taught to use acronyms. You learned little rhymes to help you remember things. Maybe you made up songs or used flashcards with endless repetition. These are all verbal techniques. Verbal techniques are things like acronyms, word associations, rhymes, and songs. They all need a serious chunk of boring repetition. You have to review them over and over and over again. They can work for a small number of items, but they're incredibly limited. They don't activate the amazing power of your visual memory. When you create vivid mental pictures, especially absurd and exaggerated ones, your brain locks them in automatically. The weirder the image, the better you remember it. Your brain is designed to remember visual information. Think about it. If I asked you to describe your childhood bedroom, you could probably do it in incredible detail. You can see it in your mind. You remember where the bed was, where the door was, what color the walls were. You didn't sit there as a child repeating bed on the left wall, door on the right wall over and over. You just saw it every day, and your visual memory captured it effortlessly. That's the power we're tapping into. That's why a gorilla smashing a pumpkin onto the road sticks in your mind forever, but the word pumpkin on a boring list disappears from your memory within seconds. The visual story creates connections. Each image triggers the next one. The gorilla makes you think of the pumpkin. The pumpkin makes you think of Einstein. Einstein makes you think of the flamingo. It's a chain of visual memories. With verbal memory, each word is isolated. There's no connection between laptop and tiger and bicycle. Your brain has to work incredibly hard to hold on to disconnected pieces of information. But with visual memory, everything flows together naturally. Now here's the really exciting part. You can use this technique for anything you need to memorize. Need to remember a shopping list? Create a visual story. Need to memorize historical dates? Create a visual story. Need to learn vocabulary in a foreign language? Create a visual story. The periodic table of elements? Visual story. Bones in the human body? Visual story. Mathematical formulas? You guessed it, visual story. Once you understand how to build these memory palaces and visual journeys, you can memorize virtually anything in a fraction of the time it would take using verbal repetition. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button right now. And if you're serious about transforming the way you learn and remember information, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Leave a comment below and tell me your scores. How many words did you get with verbal memory versus visual memory? I want to see if you experienced the same dramatic difference that most people do. And if you thought this challenge was interesting, share it with your friends and see how their memory stacks up against yours. Thanks for watching.